We are here, episode 42, the Road to Black podcast. Wes, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good. We were just running down our list of current injuries, so we figured we might as well just jump on and share those with everyone else because that's kind of the reality we all live in training jiu-jitsu. It's, for me, at this point, it's I've found it to be like, it's just a constant state of just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Honestly. And it can be frustrating, so what do you got going on? Tell me about your back.
Man, I think it was Thursday or Friday. So, for the listeners, so I signed up for Master Worlds a couple weeks ago. And anyway, no big deal. This is not really correlated to Master Worlds or any sort of training increase in like loads that I'm going through. Nothing really correlated, at least in, I've tried to be like, well, am I training more? Am I doing blah, 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 whatever. So anyway, really excited about competing Master Worlds. I'm saying that for a specific reason. I'm going to come back to it in a minute. But anyway, got signed up for Master Worlds, and this week I was lifting, and I like to do, nothing. I'm not lifting any crazy weights. I'm not like doing 1-rep maxes or anything. But I was doing some I like to do like offset loads just for balance, and like they're really good for single leg strengthening. I was doing legs and like lower body, so I was doing some deadlifts, I was doing some squats, lunges type stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was doing I think it was a deadlift. I can't remember exactly what the exercise was, but I felt it wasn't like a pop. It wasn't a pop. It was just like it's like something just happened and it wasn't right.
Mm.
And I was kind of monitoring it, and then it was like the pain started like coming right away, and like everything just started like, just,
wow.
Like you're done for the day.
Lower back?
Lower back, yeah. I've got it isolated down to like the segments and stuff. That night that afternoon, that night, I started feeling like stuff into my hips, like nervy type stuff, like referral pain, and if anybody's ever felt like nerve type pain, it's like a different, like my back was aching and stuff, but this is like an electricity type feeling down into my hips. And I started kind of feeling it down into my like mid thighs. I started getting it down in there in the back where there was just a little bit of electricity, but more than anything, it felt like pressure, and it felt like they were full, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And as a physical therapist, I'm not like immune to these types of injuries,
right,
like with jiu-jitsu. I just and lifting and things like that. And it's hard, like with the excitement that I'm going through with competing again, and then I'm like I'm ramping up the intensity. The first thing that I start going through is like, oh shit, man, am I like, anytime there's nervy stuff going on, I'm like automatically a little bit concerned, like this is not just like 6 months of some back pain. This is like acute. This is like, like something big is kind of happening. So immediately I'm like, am I done? Am I going to be able to compete?
Yeah.
And I just start going down this like negative
thought
process, this spiral. And so I have to like bring myself in. It's like, it's kind of weird because I'm in this place where I have to, I'm trying to do the same things for myself that I do for other athletes and other people that come to me with these similar types of injuries, and so it's, I start like trying to walk myself back, like, no, this is going to be okay. And I start going through like exactly how would I manage this? What is the right thing to do? And so the first thing I started doing is moving, like finding something that feels good. I wanted something that makes my back feel better. Try and get the pain to come up a little bit into my back, like get it out of my hips, and just move in like a pain-free range.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing, like moving pain-free, try and find movements that feel good, and just give it a little bit of like motion is lotion, a little bit of like, just give it a little bit of buttery, a little bit of grease in there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And trying not to go down the rabbit hole of, I'm done training, am I done with Master Worlds, how long is this going to hang around? Like that stuff, like I felt like I've been pretty good about nipping that in the bud, like
Right.
really, really quick. So, the next day, I was in a lot of pain. Still getting like some nervy stuff into my hips, still feeling a little bit of pressure into my mid thighs. And in my head, I'm sitting here thinking about just all that same stuff. I'm like constantly trying to check this like negative thought pattern and like ensuring like this is going to be okay, this is going to get better. And trying to think about like the positive things, like I don't have anything down into my feet, I don't have anything into my calf. Like in my head I'm thinking about like, okay, this is probably a hot, like I call it a hot disc. I've got an irritated disc. It's probably not like herniated. It's probably not like really clamping down on that nerve. Even like I started having some, it's called like neurodynamics, how the nerve moves. Like nerves run inside of like a sheet of plastic, like a sheath.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I was like testing how well it can move with inside this stuff, and I could feel there was a little bit of tension. So I started doing like nerve glides and like trying to get that to resolve. And so I'm just trying to manage this.
Yeah.
And like the big thing for me was stopping the negative thought process and trusting that this is going to get better, because I have seen this get better over and over and over again, and this is not going to be any different.
Yeah.
And same thing, moving, pain-free movement, pain-free movement, pain-free movement. Find things that I can do that make my back feel good and do those over and over and over again all day. Even today. Woke up the next day, which I believe is Sunday, so yesterday. Felt the best. I felt still some pain, but the nervy stuff has like kind of started to go away. It's more isolated. I've got like a small little band in my back.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this is a good indicator of things are resolving.
Yeah.
So I've got a little.
It's probably just all irritated.
It's super
right
irritated,
now.
and
It's
so
gotta
then
settle down for a few
Yep.
days so you can
so I'm like
figure out what's really going on.
Move it, keep it moving. Like my big thing is I can't stop moving. I can't lay on the couch. So here's the thing with like especially any injury, joints particularly, is they like to move.
Yeah.
And so finding pain-free movement and moving in those ranges is like the best thing you can do for any injury.
Right.
So with joints, motion is lotion, and like I've already kind of said that term, but motion really is lotion.
Yeah.
And
it's important for sure.
It's super important. So and then that's Sunday, feeling better, and then today I woke up with just like right at the segments that is really pissed.
Yeah.
It is like right there. So I'm like
real focused,
and those are all good indicators that this is like resolving.
Cool.
And coming up, but more than anything, it's like I say all this because when we all go through injuries, especially like things where we're not sure, like if there's a nerve thing going on, or if you can't bring your arm overhead. It's natural for us to go down this negative spiral. How long is this going to hang on?
Yeah.
Am I done training? How long am I out for? Am I going to be able to compete?
Mm-hmm.
How much can I trust my body going forward? When can I get back to doing the things that I love?
Yeah.
When can I start lifting again?
All
When
those
can I
emotions, right? At
all
once.
those emotions, and I'm not immune to those just because I'm a physical therapist.
Right.
And I'm managing this the exact same way that I would tell anybody else to manage this.
Cool.
So that's what's going on with me. So
That's all you can do, man. It's just that mental. It's the mental side, especially because, I don't know. I guess it would be it's like this with anybody that has a passion. But jiu-jitsu athletes, I mean, you and I both work with athletes in different ways, and I've seen just guys and gals when they're injured, it really wrecks them emotionally because of the simple fact that they want to get back on the mat.
yeah,
It's such an addiction for people, jiu-jitsu. It's such a healthy addiction. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I've never been involved in anything like this where people just, but it happens in other sports. I know runners that come into Chill Fit and they twisted an ankle or something and they got some inflammation, or we're taking the swelling down. We put cold on it and they're itching to get back out there,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they love to do. That's how it is with jiu-jitsu. I mean, straight away. Like I deal with just new people, white belts have been training 6 months, and they're like, I gotta get this fixed. I gotta get back out there, because it is that kind of addiction, and that's what you're talking about. It's like the first thing you're thinking about is really training. It's not your health or
Yep.
Can I walk around and do things with my wife, or it's like,
Yep.
Can I keep training? Is this going to take me out? It's always the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, it's important to us, and that's something that over time on the road to black and beyond, you have to manage that. I mean, from white belt to black belt to legends that I run into or that I know in this sport, they all have to manage this exact thing, and that's injury, because it's a tough sport, I mean, you can just be doing something quite just a simple move, and you can, because it's physical, and you have another person really training with you, so you have all these other aspects that you sometimes can't control, right? I mean, so it's just so difficult when you get injured over and over and over again. And really, that's almost every jiu-jitsu athlete that I know faces that. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. Think about it deeply. All of our friends, all my friends, it doesn't matter what color belt, you're always dealing with injury. So that's part of the reason, by the way, is that's one of the reasons why people don't really stick with it. It's tough that way,
Yep.
I've known a couple people that stopped training just because they don't want to deal with the injuries, or they can't afford to deal with the injuries, because that's another thing is like, if you're in certain situations with your business or your personal life, an injury can be extremely detrimental. Like, I know that from personal experience. I run a couple businesses. One of them is a brick and mortar store. It's a physical location. I'm there a lot. And last summer when I hurt my knee, it was difficult. Those first couple of weeks when I could barely walk, because I have to walk. I have to help people. So think about that times, if you have a catastrophic injury and you literally use your legs for work or something, or whatever it is, you break your hand and you're a writer or somebody that has to type all day that's those things you have to, you have to consider. And that's part of the game, you have to balance and weigh the risks, but hopefully most of those types of injuries are going to be minor. But you and I both have had some pretty major, maybe not major, but serious injuries. over
Yep.
the years. And man, it's more and more, it's something that I always have to just mentally deal with, you know. Gone are the days when I just feel comfortable. Maybe as a white or blue belt, you know, if I get injured, it wouldn't bother me as much. It would still bother me, but it wouldn't. Now I don't. It bothers me a lot. Just to have to not train, you know. But I'm in a coaching role too, so I can still be involved and be at the school. Like that's my exact case in the last few weeks. I've just been beat up pretty bad. You know, in the spring I hurt my upper back, kind of, I guess it would be under the shoulder blade. Mm-hmm. Is that the scapular area?
Yep.
And come to find out after doing a lot of research, it's a very common area for grapplers to get injured. Wrestlers too. A lot of like I read a lot of articles on wrestling athletes who has this kind of injury, and it's basically under the shoulder blade, right in the middle of my back, on that side of the shoulder blade. And it kind of, when it first happened, well, what happened was, and this is kind of like you were doing lifting weights, got injured. I was doing like home improvement stuff. Mm-hmm. So we were wrecking out, there's like a little, kind of like an office area down the hall in one of the hallways, and it had some older cabinets up. So I was taking those down. We're redoing that small room. I shouldn't have, it was doing something totally stupid I shouldn't have done. I'm like, oh, I'm strong enough to grab these double cabinets, you know? And so I literally was doing it by myself like an idiot. I had the cabinets on one shoulder, and I had my drill, and I took out the last screw, and I thought, I had already done this once, by the way, for one cabinet. The second one, though, when I pulled the last screw, this cabinet just came down awkwardly, and I had to like catch it in the air. It was on top of me, and it completely twisted my back. And right away I knew. Right away it started hurting. I'm like, oh my God. And I was so pissed at myself because that was just so preventable, you know.
Yep.
I just didn't want to wait for somebody to come help me. You know, I was just in a rush. I was doing a bunch of work. And that, now literally that's, what was that, March maybe? March? And look, I'm still feeling the effects of it. Because I healed it. And that's one of those ones, it's tough. It's just one of these longer term, it took a few weeks each time to...
Yep.
There's not a lot you can do. Like I tried to get my range of motion and move, but there's literally a knot in the middle of my back. So it was a knot. So that was the biggest thing that helped the most was massage, like in like a Theragun. But just getting that knot out. And my lady would just put her elbow in there, and she's really good at like kind of like doing what a masseuse would do. And I mean, it just got in there and it hurt like a bitch, but over time that's the only thing that would help. So anyway, I healed that, came back a few weeks later, and I came back probably too soon, rolled, tweaked it again. It wasn't as bad the second time, healed that up. So it was just managing, you know. I would take a week off of rolling, just train, but not, you know, maybe just do drills and stuff. Yep. And then like 3 weeks ago, it was feeling great, by the way. So we're like a month beyond any pain at all. I'm feeling great. It's a month beyond. You know, I went probably the whole, let me think of the date here in my head, probably the whole like half of June and July, no problem, training. And then I did no-gi like a month ago, and we were doing collar tie drills and just something like that. It was just pulling down on my neck, and I didn't feel it all in training. 3 hours later, it was literally like the same time as the first time. Like it blew up. Like 3 hours later, this is when maybe the adrenaline dumped off or whatever, but all of a sudden I have this huge... So again, now it's feeling better this last week, but the first 2 weeks of this particular flare-up, the first week I can't explain the pain. I mean, I hit it so well because I worked, I did everything, but everyone I would even talk to, my lady, everyone, I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, if you only knew how much pain I'm in right now. Like it was hurting, like a huge knot, and then it shot all the way up through my neck, and it was like walking around with the worst pain, stiff neck you've ever had. I had that for 2 weeks straight, and I was still coaching at the gym, but every moment of the day it was in pain. So, you know, I reached out to you, gave me some movements, exercise. I found some online, and it really was just, again, massage. And those 2 weeks, like for 3 weeks straight, I laid on a heating pad, and that was like literally gave me so much relief. The heating pad, I would basically just sleep on that thing, and that literally helped. It did help a lot. Like I would just try to come home right away and get on the heating pad. That's how much it helped relieve, just the immediate relief, you know. So now it's just very slight pain, but I'm still taking it easy. And then, you know, to kind of punctuate this story of injury, you know, last Tuesday I was just I was training again. My back's feeling better. It's still there. I can feel it, but we were just doing a bunch of situationals in Gustavo's class. And I don't know what I did, but I must have swung my arm around and I busted my thumb joint either on the mat or on my training partner hard. And I felt it like within like 30 seconds. I was like, oh, my thumb's really hurt. You know, it's like in the moment, it doesn't feel like, it's not like, it's just like, oh, wait, that my thumb shouldn't feel that way. It's not like you feel the pain because you're still I was still training. I kept training through the whole round and another round. And, but after class, I was like, oh my God. And within 2 days, my whole hand was swollen like a balloon on this thumb joint. And so that's been, you know, now I can't, having a hard time picking up a cup even, you know, or everything. It's my right hand. So, you know, same thing though. I'm trying to use my mouse and type all week doing work. I'm always busy doing all this stuff. I'm like, oh. And a lot of times I'll just sit here and I'm like, this is so crazy that we athletes, jiu-jitsu people, we're crazy people. We go through this.
Yeah.
It must be something that we love so much that I'm sitting here. I can't even move my mouse, you know, but I'm like, okay, that's okay. It's acceptable. This is what has to happen for me to do the sport I love. But again, you know, that one was kind of just a fluke thing. But again, it was like another hit and for me to personally share, you know, I have people not pressuring, but asking if I'm doing Master Worlds, you're going to sign up. I'm already got so much going on in the next couple of months. And now I got 2 injuries. I haven't trained in a month, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't done any serious training, honestly. I haven't even been able to help my training partners get ready for some tournaments. I couldn't do it. I've been injured. So for me to say and commit to Master Worlds, I really want to do it. But come on, let's be realistic. You know, at some point you have to be realistic. I haven't been training I'm not in no way, shape, or form in the condition that needs to be to give that the respect that it's due. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not just going to go into Master Worlds and just, I'm good enough to, no, like you have to, I'm not in nowhere. I don't have the jiu-jitsu cardio right now to do it. I can tell you that right now. Because when things been intensifying, I don't have it. I can feel it because I haven't done it. I haven't been training. So same thing, you know, that's in my mind. For me, I might sign up just so I can be on there because I know they're getting close to filling up. But again, you know, we're pushing into September already. I'm not going to be starting. I still have at least 2 weeks before I can even start to train. You know, I could tell you that with my thumb. I rolled lightly with one of my instructors today, and I didn't use my hand. And even after that, just posting on the mat, you know, it's like you don't realize, but you're using your hand, you know. So,
man, if you can't set grips, you're running it.
Yeah.
25% of your efficiency is like out the window. You lose a whole limb if you can't even set a grip. You know what I mean?
And I'm just saying, I was sore after that. It got sore again. So I'm like, okay, it's not ready yet. So, but these are just things that come, you know, it's just, that's difficult, especially, you know, so I give a lot of respect to competitors that can keep on that path and keep healthy. But it is a grind. It is something you'll constantly have to manage. Because for me, you know, yeah, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. I have a ton of other things that are more important than Master Worlds, to be honest. You know, I'm just so busy. I'm running businesses. There's a lot going on in my life, and it's something that I want to do, but I also respect enough and respect the other athletes enough to know that, hey, you got to be ready to go.
Yep.
I'm going on 2-week-long vacations in the next month. You know, it's like, yeah. So for me, it's just being realistic, and the timing isn't always right. If I was completely healthy right now and training, they're 100%.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't stay on the mat. It's frustrating, but I mean, you know, I'm on the mat, but I can't get the hard rolls in.
Yep.
So I'm with you, man. It's one of those things. I I've had an injury filled year. Like the last
Yeah.
year, I've been injured the entire time, basically. So I hope that we get beyond that, but it's a tough sport. You know, it doesn't get any easier. You know, we had an episode on that. You know, you get through the lower belts, and you know, you think I'm injured. You're injured in different ways when you start out. You know, talked to someone that was brand new today. She'd only have a few. I think this is maybe her 6th or 7th class, and after she went too hard on one of her first couple classes, and she kind of felt bad, like not being able to go to another class. And I was like, you know what? You can always just go in and watch the lesson. Talk to the coach, you know?
Yep.
You know, you always want to go in and give it your all, but sometimes you just can't do that. And with her case, you know, she did she came in and did it was a bunch of drills, and her abs were just burning, and she actually felt pain in her abdomen for a while. Probably soreness.
Mm-hmm.
That's natural, you know. When you're new, you're going through these movements that she never did that type of stuff where it's working her core like that, you know. And also, you know, you're going to have the nicks and the cuts, and then the skin ripped off your knuckles and your toes.
Bruises.
The bruises when you're new. The new people,
are
bruises.
Insane.
Yeah.
Oh my!
So
playing Spider Guard, you know, I can remember vividly playing. You know, when I first was introduced to like Spider Guard, and you know, right here on the insides of my arms were just black and blue.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get that so much anymore, but
No.
you know, your joints hurt. You've got bruises all over your body. You know, your hands inevitably just inevitably hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
That probably never goes away.
yeah.
If you're a gi player, my hands have
Yeah.
been hurting lately. It's you know, yeah, you have different injuries, but you know, in our level where we've been doing it for a long time, same thing though. You don't get those types of injuries, but you got a lot of joint wear and tear. You know, I talked to a lot of guys that have been in it a while. Fingers are always damaged, elbows. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of elbow stuff I deal with athletes, and myself too. You know, if you're just think about all the elbow joint stuff in jiu-jitsu, from everything from arm bars to kimuras. Just, you know where a lot of people get it? I personally experienced this too. And I just did actually 2 athletes. I've been treating their elbows for this. Same exact thing. It's when you go in, you're like in a top half guard and you're fighting off a kimura. You know, someone's always grabbing that kimura grip, and you're tucking and you're grabbing your own gi and you're trying to defend again. Just that torque, you know? That grip right there. A lot of people get, and I specifically will ask people, how do you think you're getting that? And it's like, oh, I'm training with someone that likes to kimura all the time, you know, from bottom, you know, you're on top half and somebody's got your arm right there. It's just, you can just, it's kind of like the tension of fending off. You might be safe, but just that tension puts some wear and tear on that joint. In my experience, that's what we're seeing. And that's, obviously, if you get it ripped out and you get kimura'd, it becomes a serious issue. So, you know, joint pain and hopefully, you know, a lot of long-term guys get neck pain and stuff. So you just got to be very careful with that stuff. You know, I think especially being stacked, you know, as one thing I've learned over the years, especially is like, it took me a while, but even at blue and purple belt, if you're going with like let's say you're going with some big giant white belt that doesn't maybe know a lot of jiu-jitsu, but they're inside your guard or something and they're stacking you. And, you know, and you're inverting in an awkward way. You know what I mean? That's something you always have to be careful with your neck.
Well, yeah.
I can see, that's how my neck has been in danger before, where I'm like, I'm not the one forcing that inversion. It's almost like someone's stacking me up and you're in a, you know what I mean? When someone's like, it doesn't happen that much, but it can definitely happens with people that don't have a lot of skill and they're trying to like bum rush and just drive into you.
Well, a little tip for the newer grapplers: if you're grappling with somebody bigger than you, try not to let them on top of you. That's how I feel. If I'm grappling with a guy that's sizably larger than me, I'm going to do everything I can to keep him, because I don't want to carry his weight.
No,
you know. And then on top of that, if he's like able to outmuscle me, I mean, that's just like I'm carrying his weight. I'm at a disadvantage in muscle. Like,
easy for us to say.
Yeah, I mean, I will do everything in my power
Yeah.
to not get. I will do a lot of things to keep from getting underneath somebody like that. Because
well, you have this.
I
You
hate
have
it.
that long-term knowledge where you're you're going to keep the distance.
Yeah,
But for
I'm
someone
gonna-
new, that's very difficult. You know,
For
because
sure.
I've seen I literally see it in my class. A new white belt. I'm going to play guard. And I pull guard, and all of a sudden the guy shucks your
Yep.
leg by, and you're underneath for 5 full minutes. You know,
Bad idea.
Exactly. So you don't have as strong a guard, but you learn. You learn. You know, you learn what guards will work in those situations, and that's part of becoming good at jiu-jitsu is really controlling an unskilled wild person,
Yeah.
right? If you haven't, and I've went against some, you know, all throughout my, you know, I definitely when I was a white and blue belt, you know,
You're not going to get to brown belt without seeing those guys.
yeah, exactly. You're going to have to be able to control these people, and
Yeah.
they're going to be coming at you hard and crushing.
Yeah.
So you have to take advantage of what they're doing, and you know that gets easier as you get more and more skilled. And to what you said, it's like you probably don't want to. You're not going to let them come flatten you out anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the feet on the hips. You know, keep the distance. Even if you're even going to go down at all like that way, you know, or you know, like you said, stay on top, manage, and get on top or get around the back. You know, if you're a
Yep.
smaller person, that's one thing you can do.
I
is
mean,
just become a
even-
backpack.
Yeah, even I don't I don't even care if it's a blue belt. If it's a blue belt today, if I roll to the blue belt who is sizably bigger than me,
Yeah.
I am doing everything I can to not let him on top of me.
Yeah.
I don't
Any belt,
want,
right?
Any belt, blue belt,
Exactly.
white belt, purple belt. I don't care what it is. I don't want him on top of me. Period. And
Yeah.
I said that to and I put that in. You add a skills discrepancy in. This is a piece of advice that I got as a blue belt. This guy was, I think, a brown belt, purple belt or brown belt at the time. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I've given this advice before to people multiple times. If somebody's like, if I'm bigger than somebody, even if I'm not bigger than them, let's say we're same size, and I'm a brown belt, I'm going against a blue belt, and he pulls guard on me. Immediately, I'm like, "What? Like, why are you pulling guard on me? Like, you're gonna have to you're at a skills disadvantage."
Yeah.
If we're same size or I'm bigger than you, now you're also at a size disadvantage.
Yeah.
So you're at a skills disadvantage, a size disadvantage. Like, don't pull guard into that situation because I don't care how good your guard is.
At blue belt.
At blue belt,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to end up on top, making you carry my weight,
Yeah.
forcing you into a mistake, and now we're in playing my game.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people, if you're rolling with higher belts, try and play your top game, try and play your aggressive game,
Yeah.
and make them carry your weight, make them be defensive.
Yeah.
Um,
Make
so
them
anyway,
sweep you in 10 seconds.
that's
and
right.
then
That's
run.
at least give them that work. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
make them have
Yeah,
to
I mean,
work to
it's-
get the position.
It's just it's the reality of being disadvantaged by tech skill. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pick your poison. You're going against a black belt. Yeah, I mean, outsized. Yeah, you probably don't want to be underneath, but then
Yep.
again, the guy's probably got a sick guard, so it's like you're damned if you do. But I totally get it, especially if you're extremely outsized. I mean, that's if you talk to smaller grapplers, they know that. They know that's what they have to. They have this additional aspect that they have to train for.
Mm-hmm.
You have to train for that. I mean, I have a couple smaller grapplers. Two friends of mine that are both lady grapplers. They're 5 foot, 100 pounds, and they know that they can't get up. Like they have to move, and they have to not get in those
Yeah.
situations. I always tell them that. That's what they have to do. They already know that. So they're playing certain positions because they're not going to, somebody most of these guys that they train with a lot, they're 100 pounds more than them. Some of them are 200 2.5 times their size. It's like
Yeah.
you just can't do that. You have to be faster than them. You have to be quicker. You have to be everything. You have to be more dynamic with your guard and just
Yep.
not. If you are going to play guard, you got to play the right ones.
Yeah.
So you might be throwing up single leg X, and your whole that's the reality of seeing a smaller grappler and a bigger person. Like this lady, a woman that trains with us, she's fierce. She but she trains with bigger guys, and it's like a single leg X control for her is like literally her whole body is on a bigger person's leg. So it completely changes the dynamic of the, it's interesting
Totally.
that way. Yeah. So, I mean, and I tell her, you're going to have to dial it in for your body type. It's going to have to, we're going to have to change a little bit of the technique that I showed here because your body doesn't, and that goes for bigger people too, in a different way, If you're so big that you can't do a specific guard or you can't place your foot in this direction or you don't have the flexibility to here, you have to adjust. So body types mean a lot. Doesn't mean that's a negative one way or another, but it just means you have to adjust for your own body type. I mean, that's something you should probably be thinking about if you're a colored belt. I mean, you need to start picking and choosing positions and guards that work for you and work for your body type and work for your skill, your athleticism, let's say. That's what makes it fun, right? I mean, it's like that's the chess match. You're trying to figure out those.
Your pieces together.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to put your pieces together to fit the things that you do well and your body type and all of that. Your athleticism, yeah.
That's all you can do. It's like I was talking to someone today that same new the female that was there today that was training. She's new. We started talking about she was already kind of because she felt kind of beat up her first couple. I think she's been training a couple weeks, so very new, very very new. And I just kind of gave her the advice of stop. You're going to have to really start getting in the mindset of you're just competing against yourself. Because already she was like looking at other new people in the white belt class at night, and they're doing this, and I feel like I'm already hurt and have this, and it's like no. Stop. We all have to go through that. We like to compare ourselves to other people on the mats, but everyone has a different situation. You really should just be comparing against your own personal growth, especially in that phase. It's like, are you coming to class? Are you doing better today than yesterday? This week versus last week? It's literally dumbing it down to that much because it's all these external pressures. Just as you started off the show, it's like, right away, can I compete at Master Worlds? Part of that is because you have an expectation because you put that out there.
Yep.
For yourself, but other people, that your coaches, your training partners. It's you don't want to let these people down. So you have this. I mean, I'm
totally
don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what we go through. It's like
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's you get that in your mind, but really it's just your own personal, and that because you've competed at the biggest level too. So it's like. That is really what it is about, is just challenging yourself. And for you now, it's just going to be personally determining and challenging yourself. Am I going to be healthy enough and manage the recovery and manage my mindset going into it? And for me, same thing. If I choose to go that path, I flip a switch in my mind, then I'm going to go all for it. But I have to be ready to do that and be able to train. So that's just a good take home for everyone, because we get in class, and I do it. We all do it. You see other people that have been promoted. I've done it a lot. I'll be the first one to admit. I got my purple belt with this person over here. He got his purple belt at the same time, but now he's here and here. Or I'm higher than this person than when we got our blue belt together. It's just you kind of start comparing because that's what we do in life. You do it I did it in business. You do it as a business owner. You do it as you're benchmarking and looking at other people that are doing it's okay to know what's out there, but to judge yourself against it's just very difficult in jiu-jitsu because we all have such a different path. I mean, you're going to find that out. If you're just got your blue belt, you could literally be on the same path as your best friend, and some way they just kind of split, and maybe he's going a few more times a month, and that turns into several times a year, and he's more dialed in, he or she, and all of a sudden that person gets their belt, and you're like, oh, we started at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
very common, very common.
It's very common. I mean, even in professionally, like you were mentioning, professionally, I do that, and I have done that in the past. It's been something that I've had to change, and this was another piece of advice that I think was really good for me, especially as I started growing my business. Every single person that I know, most of them are friends, but every person that I know that is also in my profession that posts content online, I didn't unfollow them. I just muted them. And the reason why is because what we have the tendency to do is, and I'm going to try and relate this to jiu-jitsu, or maybe you can find something to relate this to jiu-jitsu, but what we have a tendency to do is we worry so much about what this person is doing, how they're doing things, and then it's a subconscious thing where we build our content that's almost talking to them, because we want to be like, yeah, we're on the same team. Like, we're doing the same things. We want to get that like button. We want to do all this instead of building the things that, in my opinion, that jiu-jitsu athletes need. I'm doing this for me personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot when I look at other people's content. It really is not directed towards. It's directed towards my friends or my professional colleagues,
right?
And not directed towards, I want to give out something that jiu-jitsu athletes can use, or whatever your clientele is. Mm-hmm. I want to give out something that these people can use that's going to make them better. And I don't care if it's completely different than what my friends are doing, because what I do, I've had my friends and colleagues say some pretty terrible things about the way that I do rehab and strength and conditioning. Mm-hmm. But guess what? I don't care. It works.
Yeah.
And I get results. So what does it matter if it doesn't look the same as the way that you do it and the way that the whole rest of the industry does it? But it's different. But I don't care about putting out content for them. So what I ended up doing was, because I found myself doing that, putting out content so I would kind of get their likes too, and get my yeah, we're on the same team, mm-hmm. We're doing this together, from them. Like, it's almost like I wanted approval from them,
right? Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you guys are all off my feed, and now I'm putting out content just for jiu-jitsu. And it's the same thing. I'm comparing myself to what they're doing, and it doesn't work that way. Like, mm-hmm. what I'm doing and how my business goes and how I develop professionally and how I develop in jiu-jitsu is completely independent of what anybody else is doing. And so that's I don't know how to relate that into jiu-jitsu. I don't know how to you can't really unfollow your friends in jiu-jitsu, but you have to find a way to put that piece in check of me and him started together, or me and him or her started together and they got their blue belt before I did.
Yeah.
But I can keep up with them. I can tap this person. I can do that. That is that's an extrinsic motivator and not an intrinsic motivator. That is showing your motivation is to get a belt, or it's to get a stripe, or it's to do that, and not, I need to get better. I need to work on this thing. I need to develop a guard. I need to develop 2 or 3 attacks, like we've talked about before on the podcast. I need to develop 3 attacks from this position, and then I need to develop a transition and a whatever. Mm-hmm. That's an intrinsic motivator, where it's very I need to develop, and I need to develop my game and get better, and they're just completely different. They're completely different. The motivations are one is I don't want to say it's for the wrong person. We all do, or the wrong purposes. We all do it, but it's gonna leave you. It's gonna leave you longing in the long term. You can't go through jiu-jitsu all the way. You can't have a 20, 30-year career in jiu-jitsu and be extrinsically motivated, because that's gonna run out super super quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to. It's more of like a check on your ego and an adjustment on your thought process. You know, specifically for jiu-jitsu, if that you're finding yourself in that position, it's like you really just have to set yourself back. You got to just understand that the whole journey is just a personal thing, you know, and you're only going to go so far as how hard you work.
Yeah.
So some people are going to have natural ability, you know, person A and B that could start at the same time. Maybe person B is just so much more athletic, and they just, you know, mentally they're picking up on things the same, but person B is expressing that on the mats differently, you know, and they advance faster. That's a hard pill to swallow if you're person A and person B is your best friend, you know, and it's like, that's just, every instance is going to be different, you know, but you just have to step back and realize that this is your own journey, and what can I do more? What can I do better? You know?
Yeah.
I have acquaintances and people that I feel like they've stalled out in jiu-jitsu, and I'm not speaking about anybody in my class, because I know I have training partners and people in my gym that listen to this podcast. You know, I'm mostly thinking about other people that I've known along the journey, and it's like they're at a stalemate. They're at a belt for a very long time, you know, and almost always it's they go through the motions, but they don't put the mental focus on themselves, on their own work, you know. And you have to advance and learn and express that in the gym, you know. It can't just be I'm training again, and another training is the same, and you're not picking anything up, and you're not putting any of these things in your. People go through that and do that all the time. Mm-hmm. It can be frustrating, you know. It's actually, it's really what we all do. Like, we don't all stay in those stagnant states, but we all have to learn, and that's part of what coaching is. That's part of what your professor, your instructor does, is they help motivate you to use those moves that you just learned into your game, right? And there's different skill sets on doing that as far as coaching, you know. Maybe if you have a coach that's hands off and they never even talk to you one-on-one, you're not going to progress as fast if you're just not naturally doing your own study and your own implementation of these moves. Because think of how many jiu-jitsu moves you've learned that you don't implement, okay? Why? Why haven't you implemented every one? Because it's difficult. It takes time and practice, and only you can do that. So you have to be the one to pick and choose and develop your game and implement it. Some people are great at that, and they pick up on that, but some people don't. Some people go through the entire motions, and they're just getting belt promotions because they've been doing it forever. Yeah. But they don't specifically have a skill set still after doing it for years. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I can think of a few people like this, you know, so, that's why it's such a personal journey, and you really have to look inside yourself and say, can I give more? Should I be advancing more? Or just to understand what your expectation is of yourself, you know? Mm-hmm. For me, when I started, the one thing I always heard was, it's going to take 10 years to get a black belt. It was always the 10-year thing. You know, I just always had that in my mind that was a goal, okay? And that didn't really mean much at the time because I didn't know. I knew people got it way faster and some people took a lot longer, but I was like, it's average 10 years. So if that's the average that I'm hearing, you know, there's no official, maybe there's official numbers out there. That'd probably be a cool, kind of a cool poll to take. But all those examples are going to be completely different, right? You might have a guy get his black belt in 15 years, but he took a five-year break at blue belt or something. You know, it's like, you don't know. Some people train a long time, 3-4 times a week, and they might take 15 years. Where other people are training 3-4 times a week and get it in 6. You know, so you have a high-level competitor they're beating everybody at Worlds and Master Worlds, they're going to probably get promoted faster. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Does that mean they know more? Not always. It means they're dialed in, but it does. Sometimes you can get. Promotions are completely subjective, so it's tough to talk about. But we know there's people out there that might get promoted a little prematurely in our eyes. But what is that? That's my own opinion. However, you could have a purple belt or a brown belt that's been training 12, 14 years that is far, far, far skilled than the brown belt that just got promoted because, maybe he won Master Worlds or something, And what I'm saying is maybe that brown belt's young and only has like 4 years training total, 5 years training total, right? Mm-hmm. And it's no hit on that brown belt, but maybe in those 5 years, they just didn't have the time to learn all the techniques, where the 12-year brown belt has way more experience in techniques.
Yeah.
That's how jiu-jitsu works, It's very subjective like that. There's really no measurement. That's why you should always just measure yourself against your own self, And a good way to do that is just if you're, you can go by belt. As blue belt, I should be advancing, not doing the same things as white belt, but doing this much training and more. Purple belt, doing this much training and more, and this type of training, and always advancing, So it's.
Yeah, I think whenever things are focused on like external things, let's take a scenario, and this isn't everybody, but I see a lot of times, you see it online a lot, where people are, this person got promoted before I did, blah, 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 and when it's so focused on that, I mean, you should be happy for that person.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, when somebody gets promoted, I am like, even gets a stripe, man, to me personally, I'm genuinely happy. I don't care. Like, if somebody, like, I'm going to get mine eventually.
Yeah.
It's a function of being on the mats more, doing those more things. Mm-hmm. I'm confident that I am so confident in my coaches, my training partners. I don't care if somebody gets this. Their belt is so much different than mine. Where they're at, they're so much different than me. Their life circumstances are completely different than me. I could be coming 3 times a week, and I don't know how many times this person's coming. I don't know how much the stuff that they're doing. They could be in a big growth spurt, but for me, I want to be happy for people, and with that means I have to stop caring about what is going on with everybody else and start caring more about what's going on with me. And that's a manifestation of insecurity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for me, I'm very, like, I can do more. I can self-study. I can maybe catch another day of just drilling, whatever it is. But if I'm doing enough things to where I am satisfied with the things that I'm doing on the mats, when somebody else gets promoted, regardless of what level it is, I can be happy for that person.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm secure in my coaches, that they know what's best for me. I'm secure with the things that I am doing on and off the mats. And, I don't know what else to say. Like, for me, I always want to be in that spot where I want to be genuinely happy with the people are getting what is coming to them. Mm-hmm. That they're getting theirs. I'm not in a competition with that person.
Yeah.
I'm not competing with them. It's a training partner.
Yeah. Well, that's you. You're mature. You're more mature. You're wiser, and that's part of your personality, probably from the jump. But that isn't everyone's experience. So, we would like to think that, and we're mature. We that's part of the ego death. It's like that jiu-jitsu brings. You just see so much. You obviously, especially people you train with, you're happy for them because you're going through the same experience with them. I think where people more of like where you might see this is like I mean, it just depends. A certain gym vibe, a couple young 20-something-year-old blue belts, that are real competitive. And maybe there's a group of people that are, and you know this, not all gyms are created equal, where we're more of a family. There's competitive gyms out there where your training partners, it's a competition. You might be fighting and clawing to get the next shot at doing an amateur MMA bout or something. I mean, there's competitive gyms out there where this definitely exists. I've heard infighting in other gyms. I mean, that's just goes on. So we'd like to think that we're all this big family, but it does happen. But that's what I'm saying. You're probably going to get more wise as you age. You understand that this is just it's your own personal journey. But there's definitely personalities like that out there. Johnny's getting this, I'm not getting it. That definitely exists. So it's
totally. I see a lot of that stuff.
You gotta just manage that. It's kind of the ego type thing, and the other thing is I could see in a case, and I have seen this in maybe a bigger social media aspect, is where maybe you see somebody promoted that. And I have seen this a couple times, and it's still subjective, where someone's promoted and maybe the community doesn't feel like it's almost like the celebrity thing, with Ashton Kutcher. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's happy about him with his brown belt because they know that guy didn't put in the work.
Yep.
So there are instances like that, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. He didn't. I don't even know the case, but if you're not rolling with the general public and you're not rolling with people, to me,
yeah, totally.
That's not the same. That's not the same. You're not sparring. He's paying to spar with his professors, and good on him. But it's those types of things really, because even some people are like when he was rolling with Craig Jones. I love that video because it divides people right down the line. You see a lot of people are like. I'll ask you I already know your opinion because we've talked about this before, but he's rolling with Craig Jones, okay? He's allegedly a brown belt, right? I think he was a brown belt. Maybe purple? I can't remember
I think he was a purple belt at the time.
The purple belt. He's rolling with him. You see the roll, and I read the comments. I know what I feel. I feel about what half the people, maybe half to 75% people say, is that guy's not a purple belt, okay? The other people are like, well, Craig Jones is that good. He'd make you look that bad too. Okay, no. Not the purple belts I know. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean...
So that's what I'm saying. Is the skill level, sometimes you can see in that video, that doesn't look like someone that's skilled that has a purple belt.
Can both of those statements be true?
They can.
Yes, that's the thing. And... but to your point,
but that's what
like a purple belt.
That's what people get. That is what people. So it's not that they don't like Ashton Kutcher, but people that really work their fucking asses off for this, and I'm one of them. I get offended when people get there and don't, because to me, it weakens the class system of belts.
For sure.
And that's 100%. It's the whole karate black belt thing. They literally mean nothing because you're giving them out to children. And, it's you don't want people, and I know high-level black belts that feel this way. They are very protective, and it's not, call it ego, call it what it is, but they feel like that is something that has to be earned. And that's going to be different. We've talked about this a million times. Joe Blow over here might give black belts out like this because that's his level of black belt. These things can get watered down, right?
Totally.
I'm at a school where my professor's, he's the legend here. So, he's legit as they come, I mean,
yeah.
But that's the whole thing with the celebrity thing. I think people, it's we know this guy's not rolling with he doesn't look like a purple belt, and then all of a sudden he gets his brown belt. It's that can rub people the wrong way. But again, it's just, you just have to not just ignore that. It's
exactly.
It doesn't mean anything
job.
to me. But
exactly. That's how I feel. Great job. And if you show up at a tournament, I'm gonna dust your ass off.
Exactly.
Just like you deserve.
So
when he got his brown belt, that video, I'm assuming you've seen his promotion video where he got his brown belt.
I don't remember.
So he tried to not he tried to turn it down.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he tried to turn it down. I did give him some credit.
Good. I think he's a good dude.
Because he was like, I don't deserve this. I'm not a brown belt. I don't want the belt.
See, that's tough, man. When you know.
Then you've got Jean-Jacques Machado or whichever one of the was it Jean-Jacques or it was Hegan, and you got Hegan Machado there.
He loves to promote those celebrities.
He was like forcing him to take this belt, and he tried three different instances to be like no, and then he went to like I need 2 weeks to get back into shape, like, and he's like no, like go put your gi on, I'm gonna promote you, and then he was like I don't want this promotion, like I'm not a brown belt.
He hasn't even been training, and he's getting his brown belt.
And then Hegan was like, this belt is heavy. I want you to make me proud. I want you to wear this. I want you to like live up to this. And I was like,
I think that guy in particular does it for a lot of publicity. I mean, that's pretty well known about him, and that's unfortunate because, you know, Ashton's a good dude, and he's probably sitting there he's looking at the comments going, oh, geez.
I know.
Like, you know, I mean, what do you do? Except train more and try to earn it. But hey, the guy might not be able to do that much jiu-jitsu. I mean, look at what we're talking about. Yeah. This dude's an actor. Like, you think he can be beat up and broken down and broken back and, you know, all the time? Like, you know, it's like that's one of those things. But, you know, Hegan does that a lot with those guys. But
yeah,
I will say one thing I say, whether you're deserving of it or not, at least learn how to tie your belt, Ashton.
Yeah.
He's got a colored belt in 3 different photos that he has a jacked up tie. Like, how do these guys not teach? I don't understand that. I really don't understand how these guys can promote a guy and not show him how to tie his belt. Mm-hmm. That kind of tells me that they're kind of starstruck or not like wanting to say anything. Like, I literally would go up to him and go, we're going to do this every time until you get it. I'll help you.
That's right.
It's not that difficult.
It's not at all.
Now I've been telling every white belt that comes in my class, I show them how to tie the belt. I go, if you want to be respectable, you have to learn how to tie your belt right. it's not anything mean, and they always get a kick out of it because they know. They're like, I thank you for showing me because I have no idea like the right way to do it. Because one false tie of the knot and your knot's upside down, you know, or it's like you get they're going the wrong way. So I don't know. That's just me. You know, I like the.
Are you a Hollywood tie guy, or are you like
the traditional? No, I know how to.
That's what I've always heard it called, is the Hollywood, the one where you go around twice.
Yeah. So we do the Hollywood when I do photo shoots for Royal Union, because you only have the single loop in the back. But when I'm just training, I just do a traditional tie. It's much faster, you know. And but even with a traditional wraparound, the way you flip the belt ends in, a slight change can turn the knot. I don't know, you probably know that, but if you do it one way, the knot goes upside down. If you do it the other way, it comes correct.
Yeah.
So these are things that a brown belt that's being promoted as a celebrity, you would think for your gym, you'd want him to have his belt tied. I just never get that. I'm not just like, dude. And it's funny because it's every time, you know, you got his blue belt, jacked up tie, purple belt. So I make a meme out of it when he gets his black belt, and it'll be all jacked.
That'd be awesome, dude.
But that's one of those ones that does it. That, I'll be honest, that kind of it didn't piss me off where I'm walking around. Oh, fucking Ashton Kutcher got his brown belt, but it's just like, come on, man. Like, this sport's growing, and you gotta like be realistic about this. You know, you don't want to give. That just doesn't do anything for people. To me, that's self-serving. It's just a publicity thing, you know, because they always post the pictures with them and stuff. It's like, I don't know, you posting pictures with your regular brown belts. So, some people like the celebrity over there in LA, you know, some of these guys, and they've been doing it forever. Those guys are legends. So, what can you say? But even high-level dudes know that those celebrities are getting promoted a little prematurely, you know.
And
you're just training.
Rogan.
You're just training. Yeah, Rogan's the same. You know, when you don't do a lot of sparring with the classes, it's just, man, I don't know. I just don't know. It's not the same. It's just not the.
No,
Now,
it's-
I'm not saying it's. Let's just say it's subjective, and they can call it what it is, but it's not the same experience that most of us go through.
Yeah. Like Rogan, that's what I was going to say. Rogan is like a fierce defender. He's like, man, if Hegan gives you your purple belt, you're a purple belt. And it's like, I can't say that you're wrong, but
Unless you're a celebrity.
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Has he defended Hegan? I know he defends Jean-Jacques because that's his
yeah,
coach.
yeah.
Now, I've never seen Jean-Jacques do that because Rogan
no.
Rogan did train for a long time. Now,
Oh, no, Rogan's- I think
he
Rogan's
did
pretty
not.
legit.
He did not train in the gi that
Yeah.
much, and he got a gi black belt. He got his black belt in the gi. Do I think he? So you could say what you want, but some of these guys go strictly private lessons, and that's just
Yeah.
so That's just so different. It's just
Yeah,
so
I know Maynard from Tool does because he's a purple belt.
Yeah.
He might be a brown belt by now. I don't know, but I know he does a lot of privates. I think he owns a school up in Cottonwood,
Yeah.
Arizona, and I think he's got he pays some black belts, and I don't know. He was teaching the wrestling curriculum up there for a while, but and I don't know how much he trains with the students up there.
Yeah.
But I know when he travels and he's on the road, he only does privates because if he gets his throat messed up, he's like
Yeah.
he's out of a
Like
job.
I understand that.
And, yeah,
he's been
so-
training a long time. I just think you have to have a sparring with.
Yeah, totally.
You got to do it. I mean, imagine going through your whole career where you're just getting privates and you're just literally rolling with one guy, your
Yeah.
professor, or another guy. Let's say they bring somebody with them, and But imagine the difference of that versus what you went through,
Yeah,
and how many hundreds of different rounds and training partners you've been through. It's
Yeah.
like it's a lot over the years, a lot, and that makes a huge difference. But again, everybody's black belt's different. So again, we're kind of talking out two ends, but I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate on one end. And for me, I'm happy because I just know that I'm just keep going, and someday I'll get promoted when my professor feels I'm worthy of it. That's it.
yep.
You know.
That's it.
So I try to do everything I can to get better skilled and advance in that way. But I'm at the point now, I'm like, this is the last. Both you and I, we're on our last leg, and it doesn't change from there. And you know this, and we will not be any different. We'll have a different target on our belt or on our waist, and that's it. We'll still be learning and doing the same thing. We're not going to sit on our laurels. We're not going to stop training. That's just the reality of it, It's just that milestone. It's really just a milestone it's the biggest milestone, obviously, but we all feel that at different belts, I got some guys in our class that they're coming up on their, maybe their next belt, a few people, and it kind of gets exciting because it's like you really start seeing it, It's like
Yeah,
it almost like presents itself. You know what I mean? I don't even need to see how many stripes you have on your belt. Like it's in
Yeah.
your game. Like
Yep.
that's been really cool to see people develop now that I can watch a lot more because I'm a coach in certain classes. So I'm studying my former training partners and watching what they're doing. And that's really cool, man. And that's what you want. And that's in my subjective opinion, but it's also based on our gym environment. I'm measuring these people against other people in the gym. And
Yeah.
at least in our gym, all those people have the same expectations, the same promotion opportunities. So that's really what matters, right? It's going to be hard for me to measure that same person to another gym because I don't know what they're, they could have higher standards, lower. We don't know, So I think that goes back to just saying, focus on what you can, focus on your own surroundings and training partners, and
yep.
be respectful and really appreciative of their advancements too, because the more they advance, the more you're going to advance. I always tell
Yep.
everyone that. It's like we all rise together. If you have a room full of people that don't know what they're doing, you're not going to go very far, So learn from each other and build your own skill set. You know, that's the one thing I can say as a coach. It's like you got to put in the extra effort outside the gym to develop what you're going to do in the gym. That's a huge thing that I learned over time. Is I can't just go in the gym and expect it just to come magically to me, where I'm just going to develop it all there. You know,
Yep.
Put some thought process in it, do some study. This is going to work for my game. Implement it. I tell everybody that now, you know, some of the guys that I coach, it's like, you've got this part of your game down. Let's move on to something else. Let's keep developing. That's on you though.
Yep.
I can only show some stuff here.
Yep.
You know, as a student, and I'm the student too. I'm a student first, so that's what I have to do. Whether it's online or taking classes from my other coaches, it's like I try to implement those or not. You know, depending on what they are, and that's what you got to do is just keep building on that skill set. So that's probably a good way to end this one.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. Get some training in. I mean, we went from being injured and not being able to train, but all the way to developing your own skill set. But really, it's just the whole mentality of the whole thing, right? We basically just talked about jiu-jitsu mentality.
Yep.
Controlling those emotions and controlling, you know, managing
Thoughts.
injuries. Managing your thoughts in regards to other people's advancements and your own advancement.
Yep.
Your own setbacks. So, anything
Yeah.
else, buddy?
No, man. I'm hopefully in the next week to 10 days I'll be back lifting, and this will all be I'll be on the mend.
Awesome.
So, okay. That's it.
We'll check in with you next week, and everyone else, have a safe week of training. We'll see you next week.